Hey guys, what's up? It's Dave. Let's go over the weekly market analysis. Firstly, I would like to remind everybody that back in basically the year 2022, January of 2022, all the way to October of the 2022 lows, we did indeed have a 27% pullback. Okay, so things like this, how rapidly it's happening, I've been reading, this is like only the third or fourth time it's had this quickly of a drop off. Either way, we've had a solid run over the period of October 2022 lows and a nice bull run from then. The market cannot only go up. These corrections are typical. They are healthy. They need to happen. I don't know if it's the end of the world yet. I really don't think it is. It is painful, yes, especially for those that have retirement accounts, those that are getting ready to retire, those that are already retired, things like that. And yes, it is scary. However, just serving as a reminder that back in 2022, we did indeed have about a 27, this isn't about, I didn't perfectly line this up, but a 27-ish percent pullback. These things are normal. The market overall is built to go up. The market's not going anywhere. It is fast, it is rapid, it is volatile, it is scary, especially with how fast it's going. However, things will most likely shape up, chop around, find a bottom, and turn around. This 613 high is most likely not the all-time highs. So just serving as a reminder. Either way, let's get back to it. Last week, looking at weekly charts here, SPY crushed, down nearly 10% on the week, just over 9% on the week. Pretty decent volume there. I have been watching some levels. We did break this low here, so now anybody underneath here is definitely underwater. I've been watching some levels, and I would not be shocked if we didn't get to 500 or 495 to 490, retest these lows here. Maybe we get a little bit of a bounce, especially with how sold off we are. But ultimately, I am looking at this 480 retest, the breakout. That seems rather likely. It's a breakout and a retest of those 480 highs. If we want to put in a volume profile here, basically, we're coming up to a pretty low volume node at this portion. So if it breaks 500, I think it can pretty rapidly move to at least 480, if not 464, and even get into this 448 area where this volume node is. But for sure, I am anticipating a 480 retest. Whether we gap down there on Monday, I'm seeing a lot of stuff on X. Oh, it's a black swan. Monday, Jim Cramer said something about like the 1987 or something like that. Gap down. I don't know. Either way, if it does, and depending on how, if with good companies, good solid companies, even companies with dividends and things like that, long term, as long as they're good, solid companies, not super speculative ones, long term, probably decent buys. Not financial advice, but that's how I'm thinking, and I'm keeping an eye out for those opportunities, especially now with us being rather deep into a correction here. If I look at SPX here, I just have these levels marked out ahead of time. We're pretty close to 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Let me just do this here. We're pretty, I get confused with those lines. I always forget if they're up above. So we're about 17% off of all-time highs. Getting close to a bear market, quote unquote bear market, all the 20% off all-time highs. On the SPY, we are certainly there. On the Qs, just some levels I'm looking at here. I wouldn't be shocked if we got to, these, let me modify that here. These lows of April of 24, so about a year ago. What does that put us at? 413. I wouldn't be shocked at that. It looks like we might have a death cross coming up. I don't trade death crosses. I don't trade MA crosses or anything like that. I mostly look at price levels and structure nowadays, and just kind of use MAs as direction preference, but not an end all be all type thing, just as information. Either way, so looking at RSP, the equally weighted S&P 500, we broke this prior support here. We'll see if it's going to end up being a look below and fail, but not 100% sure. So we can probably look at this level here. I'd say we're still in potential support area, especially with these highs here. We'll see. But you know, if we break down even lower, I don't know, heck, the next level would be like 134. I don't know how believable that would be. I'm not sure on that, to be honest with you. Either way, there's the SPX again, QQs, equally weighted Qs, equally weighted. You can see we broke these lows here. So we'll see how much supply comes out above overhead here. It's a nasty looking weekly candle, that's for sure. I don't know if we're looking at 98 or so. Kind of the prior support of that bull flag on the weekly from the October 2022 lows. Okay, as a reminder from January, or you know what, I'll just do November of 2021 all the way to the lows of October 2022. We had about a 30% correction. Now, near this support level ish, I wouldn't be shocked if we get down to this prior breakout area around 370 or so. I'll be watching that. IWM, just a crapshoot. I wouldn't be shocked if we tested these 162 again. I don't know if we're going to go lower. If we do, I'll mark out levels then. But this is kind of like, it's not a double top yet. I don't think so. I think in order to consider that, it's not really in a range. I mean, you can make this a huge range of 244 to basically 162. So it's got to break 162, retest it, then continue on down to consider that a double top, I think. But we'll see. But it's certainly back within this balance of 200 to 162. So I wouldn't be shocked if IWM goes to 160. XLB, let's see if anything looks good. Okay, let's just do a quick scan. XLB, big red bar. Not really. Okay, and mostly all of this is XLC at an interesting point. These prior breakout highs here. We'll see if that holds. But all of this, these big old red bars, it doesn't look good. If I were looking at any other time frame, I would say, hey, you know, maybe we get some consolidation or some chop. XLK looking like it wants to test that breakout area again, right? 178 or so. I would expect maybe a little bit of bounce, a little bit of some chop, and then, you know, probably some further downside. That is what I am anticipating. XLRE real estate broke these lows. I don't know if we get a continuation down with it, but it broke that low, closed below it. So I don't know if we want to head down to 35.60 or so. Not sure, but potential. This is all based off technical analysis, by the way. My overall macro knowledge is not the best. I will be learning to understand that a little bit better. That's kind of part of my next journey here. But this is based off of technical analysis. But macro-wise, there's a lot of moving parts with these tariffs. And there is an individual, his name is Dan, he's on YouTube. I'll put the link in here. He does a wonderful job of explaining the macro view of things. This kind of looks like a Head and Shoulders here on XLV healthcare. Neckline, it's kind of slanted, but technically that right shoulder is higher than the left. I think technically left shoulder has to be lower than that, but I mean, it looks like it's not perfect, but whatever. Big red bar, right? Nothing really looks like a buy right now. Nothing really looks like there is a bid holding anything up. It's kind of like, hey hands free, let it fall. That's how I'm seeing it. And I am not going to put up my hands here to try and catch this stuff because I don't like losing money. I would rather wait for confirmation. I would rather wait for the larger funds, the larger players to really throw their money out first, even though I don't think that's how that works. It's more so till we see selling subsiding. And then we see price stability, then people start buying. So we have to see some sort of lack of selling pressure first. And this does not look like a lack of selling pressure. This looks like a lot of selling pressure, in my opinion. So I am not long biased after looking at all this stuff. I am certainly short biased. I know they say not to have a bias, right? I understand that. Look at the VIX, that's wild. I understand that. However, where I am putting my attention towards is towards the short side of the market. I am looking for short setups, whether it be bounces. It looks like this. It does seem like bounces are being sold. Rips can be sold, and rips are probably going to be rather vicious and strong because they usually are in bear markets, especially when the short covering comes. But when we get a bounce, looking for some sort of topping, rounding, buying pressure fading from short covering, fading, and then overhead supply finding their opportunity to get out and sell into that creates an overcoming pressure. Then shorts stop putting their bid in and covering. So now they're no longer buying, and the selling pressure from above pushes price down. That's basically what I'm anticipating and looking for. And I'm pretty hands off. I've been really just kind of been monitoring, looking for opportunities on the short side, having ideas for long-term investments on the long side, investments, not swings, or long-term swings really. But I'm not pulling any triggers yet. I'm waiting for the market to overall calm down. But overall, if you look at it, I can give you all these levels. I can't give you the macro scope of view of things very well. But in how I see things, they're not quite calm. I don't think I need to tell you that. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at. Oh, I need to add Bitcoin in here. Bitcoin, I think, finally cracked a little bit. I'm going to add that into my reviews. Bitcoin cracked a little bit. So it's breaking now below these lows. This is a pretty obvious level here, right? You can see that this, I don't know, it's an anchored VWAP from this low here on August 6th of 24. That was acting as support, at least that area. And now this obvious 81,000 level, let's just break it even there, 81,000, that is now being undercut. We'll see how much supply continues to come out. I would keep an eye on this 76,600 low. 76,600, let's see how close I can get to it. And we'll see if that holds, if it wants to test it. Just basically just watch to see what it does. I'm going to set an alert on there as well. And we'll see what happens. Maybe a little bounce, and then it breaks down lower. But it's definitely, death cross happening. 50, there's a lot of death cross happening if you're watching my reviews and others things. A lot of 50 SMAs crossing 200 SMAs. So we shall see what happens. So this is happening rapidly. This is happening very quickly. It doesn't seem like there's any clear plan or idea of what's truly going on market-wise, rate-wise, things like that. I guess the Fed's hand is trying to be forced by Trump's tariffs, and we got a lot of debt rolling in and things like that. So that needs to be paid off. So we're trying to refinance that at the lower cost. That's how I understand these things. Again, I'm trying to understand a little bit better, but overall, just from a technical analysis point of view, I'm not tossing money in right now. Not financial advice, just how I am thinking through things and managing my own risk for this type of stuff. Good luck out there. Hopefully this helps. Again, I'll put the link for Dan. He goes by Babyfish. It's excellent stuff. Highly recommend you follow. Very smart, intelligent, kind individual. Calls it as it is and just straight up honest. So, all right. Thanks for your time. Have a good week. Trade safe. Later.